Now, the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, was schooled in some basic science from a top anaesthetist in London this week. Take a look.
What do you think of the new rule to require vaccination of all NHS staff?
I'm not happy about that. So.
You're not happy about it? Tell me.
So I've had COVID at some point.
Yeah.
I've got antibodies.
Yeah.
I've been working on COVID ITU since the beginning. I have not had a vaccination. I do not want to have a vaccination. The vaccine's reducing transmission only for about 8 weeks with Delta. With Omicron, it's probably less. And for that, I would be dismissed if I don't have a vaccine. It's not. The science isn't strong enough.
That's your view.
Now, what troubles me about Javid's reaction later in that encounter is the way that he belittles this highly experienced medic by saying, oh, we just speak to the experts on vaccines, as though this guy is some kind of idiot that he's found off the street. This is the classic kind of gaslighting that we've seen in the course of this pandemic by anyone that challenges the cosy COVID consensus. This is a guy that's dedicated years of his life to the NHS and spent months on end in intensive care wards dealing with COVID patients. And he now faces the sack. One less anaesthetist amid unprecedented NHS staff shortages. Look, I'm pro-vaccine. I think it's fabulous against severe illness and death. And a vaccine is something that most of us wanted to see when the full scale of the pandemic began to emerge. But in my view, it's been slightly oversold. CCTV sex bomb and then Health Secretary Matt Hancock famously said 15 million jabs to freedom. Well, it didn't happen because the vaccine is not stopping transmission and it's not stopping people from getting COVID. Triple-vaxxed Sir Keir Starmer has had COVID so many times, I'm beginning to think the virus is not a Labour supporter. Meanwhile, tennis supremo Novak Djokovic is effectively in jail in Australia for daring not to declare his vaccine status, even though he caught the virus in December and boasts the 5-star immunity that recovery from infection delivers. Any virologist worth their salt will tell you that natural immunity always has been and always will be the ultimate vaccine, Sunetra Gupta to name but one. Which is why the milder Omicron variant, in my view, should be welcomed, not resisted, for those not in vulnerable groups. A view shared by the few medics and scientists who are not afraid to speak out. The South African authorities who unearthed Omicron were incredulous at the time when they saw us rolling out more damaging control measures, given that this new strain is akin to the common cold. The Mail newspaper this week are suggesting it's potentially 100 times less dangerous than Delta. But you know the theme of this pandemic, folks. When the news gets better, the measures get worse. In the context of the milder Omicron variant, why hasn't Plan B been reversed? And why haven't mask mandates in the classroom for kids as young as 11 already been scrapped? Why will they still be wearing face coverings on Monday when the government's own evidence was, quote, inconclusive? Now there's a surprise. Whether you're a medic, a care home worker or a tennis star, it's a fundamental human right to decide what goes into your body. The virus isn't bad enough and the vaccine isn't good enough to justify this tyranny. A fascinating exchange with Nigel Farage from GBNews has played out on Twitter today. Take a look at this. Now, it's a series of tweets about Djokovic. Nigel writes, I'm talking with the Djokovic family, and they are clear that Tennis Australia, in line with Victoria state law, allowed Novak to come to Australia as he had proof of a positive PCR test within the last 6 months. He was then arrested, his phone and wallet taken. Nigel goes on to say when the Australian Home Affairs Minister says Novak Djokovic is free to leave, she's not being straight. Unless he makes an appeal, he will face an automatic 3-year visa ban, so has to stay in prison conditions until the hearing on Monday. And most devastatingly, here's how Nigel finishes. If they can do this to the world's #1 tennis player, just think what they could do to you. How right he is. And Nigel is back at 7 on Monday. Now, high case rates in ultra-vaccinated countries like Israel and closer to home in Gibraltar demonstrate that this virus isn't going away, which is why a vaccine must be a matter of personal choice. Mandating vaccines is sharp practice, needleless, and something only a small prick would ever consider. Look, I am triple jabbed. I'll be honest with you, I've been poked more times than a Playboy bunny. And if you're in a vulnerable group, older, overweight, or have comorbidities, I think you'd be mad not to have it. But in the end, it's up to you. To jab or not to jab, that is the question. The only person that should ever answer that is you.